All right, Steeler fans, it is the second half. It is time for the mailbag segment. Every single Wednesday, this is what I do. I answer your questions, and you might be wondering, how did I get my question answered? On Tuesday, I put out a tweet on my Twitter page at jhartman, HARTMAN_PIT. You don't have to follow me. You just have to find me, and you respond to that tweet. I'll answer it live right here on the show. So with that out of the way, let's get started. Jeff Coons, greetings from Not Mad Canada. With free agency just around the corner, do you think the NFLPA team rankings have much influence on where a player signs? I think salary, ability to win a championship, and coaching hold more weight than locker size and childcare. Jeff, I hope you listened to Monday's podcast. I had Chris Adamski of triblive.com on the show. It was a fantastic conversation. I really did enjoy it. And he definitely talked about how while the grades do mean something to the Steelers, they do pay attention to them. They want the players to appreciate and to enjoy their time in Pittsburgh. It's not the be-all, end-all. It really isn't. And so the amenities, if you want to call it that, about an NFL organization, the amenities in a team's facility, they're perks. And maybe that would be if someone is looking at two teams, so a free agent's looking at two teams that are offering the same exact thing. They both have good coaches. They both have a winning atmosphere. They both have coordinators that I like. They both are offering the same amount of years, same amount of money, same amount of guaranteed money. Then maybe they would go to the NFLPA report card and say, how are their amenities? Do they have a good training staff? Do they have good facilities? I don't know. I still don't think that would be such a rare occurrence, having the same exact deal. But that's just my own opinion. I agree with you. I think salary and ability to win and the coaching staff means more than anything else. Let's go to Steely's burner account. He said two big name cornerbacks are on the market. Jair Alexander of the Green Bay Packers LDV, a trade, and big play Slay from the Eagles. Are you buying either one or neither? So this was an article that was done by Archie Wilson of at SteelCurtainNetwork.com of should the Steelers trade for Jair Alexander of the Packers? And I said this in the comment section there, and I'll say it again here. I'm fine if the Steelers want to go down that road and try to trade for Alexander, but the dude just can't stay healthy. He hasn't stayed healthy in a long time. He was banged up last year. The year prior, I remember the Steelers played the Packers, and I had people talking about how Alexander just cannot stay healthy. He can't stay on the field. I'm not about to trade away valuable assets to a player that is not going to be a guarantee to be there. So sometimes players, stuff happens, and people will be labeled injury prone, and they've gone places and done well. But I'm going to say that I'm passing on these two individuals. There's other cornerbacks out there that I like that on the free agent market I think will provide more value, and you won't have to give up as much, like trading with the Packers for Alexander. Let's go to the Believers Ride or Die Crew poll of the week. He asked, if you had your choice this year and were guaranteed a trade partner, would you rather move up to the top 15, move down out of the first, or stay put? So this is a good question. And I'm going to say that there are some drafts where I would say move up to the top 15. If there's a position or players that that you would covet that would really be difference makers for your organization, then you would want to go up and be aggressive. But then there's also times where the draft is lending itself to having a lot of really good talent that is at the tail end of round one or into round two. In this case, I voted for move out of the first round. I would be fine if the Steelers at 21 traded out of the first round. Maybe it's with a team like, I doubt it's Cleveland, but let's just say the Raiders. Okay, the Raiders want to move back into round one. They want to draft a player 21. So what are you willing to give up? You're giving up the second round pick for sure. You're giving up another second round pick. Okay, now we're talking. Now you have 2 second round picks. You can really add some talent there as well. Out of these possibilities, it's either stay put or move out of the first. I'm not interested in moving up into the top 15 in this draft. I'm just not crazy about it. All right, let's go to Plain and Simple Matt. He said, howdy from Atlanta, Jeff. Now that we're inching closer and closer to the new league year, I'm curious to hear your dream free agency and or draft. Are you more focused on receiver, defensive line, or cornerback? If they sign a receiver in free agency, could they still address wide receiver in round one of the draft and vice versa for defensive line? Thanks, as always. God bless, and here we go. So the thought of having a dream free agency and draft, I might do that as a solo show coming up maybe, probably Friday, and I might even tag Jeremy Jerome Betts in the All Bets Are Off segment in that. But I would say that I'm more focused on right now. I want the Steelers to get defensive line, cornerback, and receiver in free agency. I actually want them to try and get all three of those. Now, if they do all that, I would still be okay for them drafting all three of those positions in the 2025 NFL draft. When they do it, that depends. But still, I think those three big needs that you mentioned, and I agree with you 100%, are exactly where the Steelers need to focus. And I'm fine with them double dipping both in free agency and in the NFL draft. All right, let's go to Michael Bell. He said, "Hey, Jeff, any word from your source about the discussions inside the Steelers facility ahead of free agency?" No, I haven't heard from our source recently. Got to remember, and I talked about this a couple weeks ago. It might have been a little bit longer than that. Sourced information is when information is knowingly being released, whether it's just that individual, maybe it's the team knowing. Sometimes people use radio hosts, podcasters, writers as a mouthpiece for the organization. And sometimes they say, listen, let's just keep it tight-lipped. Goes back to like the old war slogan, loose lips sink ships. And so maybe that's, I don't know. I haven't reached out a ton because I'm not going to bother the individual, but still haven't heard anything. So to answer that question, that's a no. Let's go to Joe Moran. He asked a couple things. He said, all right, a bit long-winded. What do you think is better than other head coaches, or Mike Tomlin is better at than other head coaches? The team always comes out slow in the first half. Personnel has not been inspiring with poor production out of top picks. He can't manage a game clock. He doesn't win challenges. And considering how overpaid this defense is, how is it possible that there's still big gaps in the secondary and the defensive line? I want to have a reason to believe in this team, and I have to believe in Tomlin if that's the case. Help me out. All right, Joe, I get it. There's a lot of fans that are on this Fire Tomlin bandwagon, and that is a bandwagon that is growing by the season. Trust me. But I will say this. You talk about the overpaid defense. Dave Schofield's talked about this on a bunch of podcasts. He's written about it as well. It's because the offense has a lot of young players there. Think about players on the offense that are in their second contract with the Steelers. Pat Freiermuth. That's really it. I mean, when you think about it, it's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. And so what I want to mention is that while the defense does have a lot of money, draft capital has been pumped into the offense more recently. Broderick Jones, first-round pick. Zach Frazier, second-round pick. Troy Fautanu, first-round pick. Mason McCormick, fourth-round pick. Pat Freiermuth, second-round pick. Najee Harris, first-round pick. Roman Wilson, third-round pick. George Pickens, second-round pick. Calvin Austin III, I think he's a fourth. Y'all see what I'm talking about, right? They have been drafting a lot of players on the offensive side of the ball, and some of those picks date back to Kevin Colbert. I understand that, but still, it's the nature of the beast. The Steelers now are looking at, okay, we have these veterans on the defensive side of the football, TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, Minkah Fitzpatrick. Now Patrick Queen adds to that expensive defense. They need to start infusing younger talent there and getting rid of some of the older talent. That's when I talk about like a DeMonte KZ in the first half. I'm fine with him going and leaving and them getting younger there. So that's money that you're getting rid of. I'm fine with them going with more draft picks. I just want, honestly, and I'll get back to the Tomlin stuff in a second. I want the Steelers to stop seemingly doing the all offense, all defense, all offense draft, all defense draft, all offense draft, all defense draft. They have to try and keep things together. When they drafted Keanu Benton and Nick Herbig and Broderick Jones, it was very balanced. They need to keep that balance so that they don't have this discrepancy on both sides of the football. As for Mike Tomlin, the dude has its warts. He also has his strengths. Every single coach has their strengths and their weaknesses. And at this point, you said, help me out in terms of believing. It's not so much whether you believe, it's the fact that the Steelers are not doing anything different with it. And we might all, the whole collective of Steeler Nation could sit down and say, we want Tomlin fired. We could have billboards put up. We could put out pages in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. We could write emails. We could write letters. We could stand outside of the facility with signs, and it's not going to do anything. So as much as people just really can't stand Mike Tomlin, you just have to hope that the team can build a roster that is capable of being elevated. He's a good coach. He's a good motivator. He's been able to win with good rosters. Go back to when he won Super Bowl 43 and he got to Super Bowl 45. Had a hell of a roster to do it. They got to try and build that. That's the only hope we have right now, because I guess maybe in a few years they're done. He's done. As of right now, it's our only option. Let's finish this up with some humor. Steeler fan 69 always provides. He said, your Monday shows this offseason have been like butter on a roll, which thank you, by the way. And I hope everyone goes back and checks out my Monday morning conversation with Chris Adamski of the Pittsburgh Tribune Review, or triblive.com. It's great to finally catch up with him. He provided some really interesting insight into Mike Tomlin, the grades from the NFLPA, all that fun stuff. It's still relative. Go back and check that out on our audio feed. Let's go with some more jokes. Someone broke into my garage and stole my limbo stick. Seriously, how low can you go? The next one. I'm having a hard time getting my yoga instructor to leave my house. Every time I ask her to leave, she just says, namaste. That reminds me of, I remember when I was teaching, and I taught middle school for 16 years. There were students that had the funniest shirts. They had shirts that said, namaste in bed. And then other one that said, it was a picture of a head of lettuce on their shirts, like a cartoon lettuce. And it said, let us remain calm. I love the play on words. I think it's hysterical. But y'all did a great job with the mailbag segment. I thank everyone for listening. I'm going to tell you to listen to all of our podcasts and check out steelcurtainnetwork.com. And I'll be back on Friday with the latest news surrounding the Steelers, as well as Jeremy Jerome Betts and the All Bets Are Off segment. But we finish these out. Be safe, be kind, and God bless. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you on Friday. Go Steelers.